The weight of my keys felt unnaturally heavy in my hand as I pushed open the front door. Another late Tuesday. The office had been a pressure cooker, deadlines breathing down my neck like stale coffee breath. All I wanted was the quiet chaos of home, Vela curled up on the sofa. Maybe the soft murmur of a documentary she'd pretend not to be asleep to. The familiar scent of lavender and vanilla usually hit me first, a warm embrace before arms ever could. Tonight, it was different. Faint, almost masked by something sharper, astringent. Turpentine. Paint thinner. I frowned, kicking off my shoes with less care than usual. "Hey, you home?" My voice echoed slightly in the stillness. No immediate answer. Not unusual if she was painting in the spare room shed turned into her studio. But the silence felt thick, laden. I dropped my briefcase with a thud near the console table, the sound too loud in the quiet apartment. Heading towards the kitchen, I spotted her water bottle on the counter, the expensive glass one she took everywhere. Except it was empty, bone dry. And it wasn't her usual spot. She always refilled it immediately after her art classes. Always. Art classes. Tuesdays and Thursdays. 7 to 9 p.m. Sacred time. Non-negotiable. It had started 6 months ago. Vela, eyes bright with a spark I hadn't seen since we first met, announced she was reclaiming her creative side. Life had gotten busy, she'd said, her own artistic dreams sidelined by the mundane. She needed an outlet, a community, an evening class at the local community center, figure drawing. Just for fun. Just for her. I'd been thrilled. Seeing her passion reignite was beautiful. She'd come home buzzing, fingertips sometimes smudged with charcoal, talking a mile a minute about light, shadow, the challenge of capturing form. She'd even shown me some sketches, tentative lines, studies of fruit, a draped cloth. Basic stuff, but her enthusiasm was infectious. I encouraged it wholeheartedly. Bought her a fancy new sketchbook. Cleared out the spare room meticulously. Told her to chase that feeling. Lately, though, the buzz had changed. The enthusiasm felt performative. The details about the class became vaguer. Less about the art, more about the experience. The other students were interesting characters. The instructor was demanding but brilliant. She'd come home later, sometimes smelling faintly of coffee she hadn't bought at home, or carrying a takeout bag from a place miles away from the community center. When it asked, casually, if the class had run over, she'd wave a dismissive hand. "Oh, a few of us just went for a quick bite after to unwind. Talk shop, you know?" She'd smile, but it wouldn't quite reach her eyes. There was a new distance, a preoccupation. Her phone, usually left carelessly on the coffee table, now seemed glued to her hip, face down. Passcodes changed. Notifications silenced. Standing in the kitchen, staring at the empty water bottle, the turpentine smell tickling my nose, a cold knot began to form in my stomach. It was Tuesday. Art class night. She should have been home an hour ago. The community center was a 15-minute drive, tops. Where was the sketchbook? Where were the charcoal smudges? She usually left her class bag by the door, spilling over with supplies. It wasn't there. I walked down the short hallway towards her studio. The door was ajar. Pushing it open, the smell of solvent was stronger. But the room was pristine. Unnervingly so. Her easel stood bare. The taboret beside it was clean, brushes meticulously washed and standing upright in jars, paints capped and stacked neatly. No half-finished canvas. No crumpled paper towels bearing the evidence of creation. It looked staged. Like a showroom. Not like the vibrant, messy space where creativity supposedly flowed every Tuesday and Thursday. My eyes scanned the room. Nothing out of place, except a single, small, folded piece of thick paper tucked almost out of sight behind a stack of unused canvases leaning against the wall. My heart hammered against my ribs, a frantic drumbeat warning me not to look, not to know. But my feet moved anyway. I picked it up. It was a flyer, slightly crumpled. Bold letters proclaimed, "The Atelier a Life Drawing Sessions. Master the Human Form." Below, an address downtown. Expensive neighborhood. Not the community center. And the schedule, Tuesdays and Thursdays, 7 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. 30 minutes longer than she'd told me. Master the Human Form. Life drawing. Nude models. A wave of nausea washed over me, cold and greasy. Was that it? Was she embarrassed? Had she lied about the location and the nature of the class because she thought it'd be uncomfortable with her drawing nude models? It seemed plausible, even if the deception stung. But why lie about the time? Why the secrecy with her phone? Why the coffee smells and the late returns? Why the pristine studio untouched on class nights? I pulled out my phone, my fingers trembling slightly. Maps. I typed in the address from the flyer. It wasn't just downtown, it was in a converted loft building known for high-end studios and galleries. Definitely not community center prices. How was she affording this? Our finances were shared, mostly. I managed the bulk of it. There had been no unusual withdrawals I'd noticed, but then, I hadn't been looking. Suspicion, once it takes root, grows thorns that pierce everything. I needed air. I needed to think. I shoved the flyer into my pocket, a piece of evidence I didn't want but couldn't leave behind. Grabbing my keys again, I headed out, not even sure where I was going. Just away from the stifling silence of the apartment, away from the phantom smell of turpentine that now felt like the scent of betrayal. I found myself driving, not consciously towards the address on the flyer, but my hand seemed to know the way the city grid worked. It was pushing 10 p.m. now. If the class ended at 9:30, maybe, just maybe, I could catch her leaving. See her coming out with a group of fellow artists, sketchbooks in hand, talking animatedly. Prove my creeping dread wrong. Prove I was just a paranoid idiot letting work stress poison my thoughts about the woman I loved. Downtown was still alive. Lights glittered, people spilled out of bars and restaurants. The loft building housing the Atelier was sleek, modern. I found a parking spot half a block away, engine idling, heart pounding so loud I could hear it in my ears. I slunk down in the driver's seat, feeling like a character in a bad detective movie. Ridiculous. This was ridiculous. Vella wouldn't. She couldn't. Time crawled. 9:40. 9:45. People started trickling out of the building's main entrance. A few carrying portfolio cases, others chatting in small groups. I scanned every face, my eyes straining in the uneven streetlight. No Vella. 9:55. The flow had stopped. Maybe she'd left earlier. Maybe she used a different exit. Maybe she wasn't even here. Hope, thin and desperate, flickered. Then, the glass door swung open again. Two figures emerged. Close. To close for casual classmates. A man, tall, broad-shouldered, dark hair swept back. He had the easy confidence of someone used to taking up space. And beside him, tucked slightly under his arm, her head tilted towards him as he spoke, laughing at something Vella. My blood turned to ice water. It was her. Unmistakably her. The way she moved, the curve of her neck as she laughed, the familiar cut of her jacket. But seeing her like this, pressed against this stranger, the intimacy of their posture, it was a physical blow. The air left my lungs. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't look away. They weren't carrying sketchbooks. No portfolios. Nothing that spoke of an art class ending. They paused just outside the door, under the harsh glow of the building's entrance light. He said something else, his hand resting casually on the small of her back. She looked up at him, her face illuminated. I saw an expression I hadn't seen directed at me in months. Open, unguarded adoration. Pure, radiant warmth. She reached up and brushed a strand of hair from his forehead. A gesture so tender, so familiar, it shattered something inside me. He leaned down. She tilted her face up. And they kissed. Not a quick peck. Not a friendly goodbye. A deep, lingering kiss that spoke of intimacy, of possession, of a history I was terrifyingly unaware of. Right there, on the sidewalk, under the city lights, as if they were the only two people in the world. The world narrowed to that single point of light, that horrifying tableau. Sound faded. The city noise, the rumble of my own car engine, all swallowed by a roaring silence in my head. I felt disembodied, watching from some cold, distant place as the woman I shared a life with, a bed with, whispered dreams within the dark, kissed another man with a passion that left no room for doubt. They broke apart, smiling at each other, that secret smile shared by lovers. He said something. She laughed again. That light, carefree sound that used to be my favorite melody, now twisted into something grotesque. He hailed a cab. She slid in first. He followed, closing the door. The cab pulled away from the curb, merging into the flow of traffic, disappearing around a corner. I sat there, frozen. The steering wheel felt slick under my palms. The flyer in my pocket burned like a brand. Art classes. Posing for art classes. The perfect cover. The ultimate pretense. Hours alone in a private studio with this man. Drawing. Painting. Mastering the human form. My mind, treacherous and vivid, supplied images I couldn't bear. Vela posing. Vulnerable. Beautiful. For him. His eyes on her, not as an artist studying form, but as a man consumed by desire. The intimacy of the studio, the quiet concentration broken by what? Touches. Whispered words. How long had this been going on? 6 months. Since the classes started? Longer. The nausea returned, violent this time. I fumbled for the door handle, stumbled out onto the sidewalk, and barely made it to the gutter before retching. Nothing came up but bile, burning my throat. I leaned against the cold metal of my car, trembling uncontrollably. Humiliation warred with a rage so profound it felt like a separate entity living inside me. It encouraged this. It cleared the space. It bought the sketchbook. I'd listened to her tales of interesting characters and brilliant instructors, utterly clueless, a willing fool funding her betrayal. The drive home was a blur of red lights and distorted faces. The familiar streets felt alien, hostile. Every memory of Vela from the past 6 months was now tainted, re-examined under the harsh, unforgiving light of this truth. Her tiredness after class exhaustion from passion, not art. Her preoccupation thinking of him. Her secretive phone messages from him. The late nights, the unexplained coffees, the pristine studio, all pieces of a puzzle it'd been too trusting, too blind, to assemble. I parked haphazardly. The apartment windows were dark. She wasn't back yet. Of course not. She was in a cab with him. Going where? His place. Some hotel. The possibilities were endless, each one a fresh stab wound. I let myself in, the silence now a suffocating presence. I walked through the rooms, our home, seeing it with new eyes. The photos of us on vacations, smiling faces now mocking me. The throw blanket wet argued over buying shed loved it. I thought it was scratchy. Had she bought it imagining curling up under it with him? The book on her knit stand, was it a gift from him? I ended up in the living room, standing in the dark, staring out the window at the city lights. The flyer was still in my pocket. I pulled it out, crumpling it in my fist, the stiff paper resisting. Master the human form. She'd certainly mastered deception. Mastered the art of living a double life. Mastered breaking my heart with surgical precision, using art as her scalpel. The key turned in the lock. My body tensed, every muscle coiled. The door opened, spilling a wedge of hallway light into the dark living room. Vela stepped in, humming softly to herself. She flicked on the entryway light, momentarily blinding me. She kicked off her shoes, dropping her purse with a sigh. She looked radiant, relaxed, glowing from the inside. The sight of it, knowing the source of that glow, ignited the rage again, white hot and consuming. "Hey," she called out, her voice light, melodic. "You're still up. Thought you'd be crashed after your late night." She padded into the living room, stopping short when she saw me standing motionless in the dark by the window. "Eugene, you okay? Why are you standing in the dark?" She reached for the lamp switch. "Don't." My voice came out rough, gravelly, unrecognizable even to myself. Her hand froze. She peered at me, a flicker of unease crossing her features, quickly masked by concern. "What's wrong?" "Bad day." She took a step closer. I caught her scent, not lavender and vanilla tonight. Something musky, unfamiliar. His cologne. The smell of the cab? The smell of them? How was class? I asked, the words flat, dead things dropping into the space between us. She blinked, a micro-expression of surprise flitting across her face. Was she recalibrating her lie? Oh, it was good. Really productive. We worked on some longer poses tonight. Challenging, but she trailed off, perhaps sensing the dangerous stillness in me. "Why? You seem strange." "Productive," I echoed. "Longer poses." At the Atelier. The color drained from her face. It was instantaneous, like a switch flipped. All the relaxed radiance vanished, replaced by stark, wide-eyed panic. She took an involuntary step back. "What hour what?" "The Atelier." "What are you talking about?" "My class is at the community center, you know that." Her voice climbed slightly, the pitch betraying her fear. I took a step forward, forcing her back another step. See, I found this. One held up the crumpled flyer, shaking it slightly. Downtown address. Life drawing. Ends at 9:30. Funny, your community center class ends at 9. And smells suspiciously of turpentine, even though your studio here looks like it hasn't been touched in weeks. My voice was low, controlled, but the tremor of fury vibrated beneath the surface. I was downtown tonight, Vela. I saw you leave. I saw you with him. Her hand flew to her mouth. A small, choke sound escaped her. Tears welled instantly, spilling over. But they weren't tears of remorse, they were tears of panic, of being caught. Eugen, please, it's not what you think. Not what I think. A harsh, humorless laugh ripped from my throat. I saw you kiss him, Vela. I saw you look at him like you used to look at me. What exactly is it not? Enlighten me. Is posing naked for your instructor part of the advanced curriculum? Is that the mastering the human form they advertise? The words were vicious, designed to wound, and they hit their mark. She flinched as if struck. Stop it, she cried, tears streaming freely now. It's not like that. Marcus, is Hayes just a friend? We got close, yes, but it's complicated. The class is intense, it creates a bond. I roared, the control finally snapping. The sound was raw, animalistic, echoing in the small room. You call fucking your art teacher a bond? How long, Vela? How long have you been lying to me? Making a fool out of me with your little art classes? We didn't, it's not, she stammered, backing up until she hit the wall. The terror in her eyes was real now, but it did nothing to quell the inferno inside me. It only fueled it. She was afraid of me. After what she'd done. Don't lie. I slammed my fist against the wall beside her head, making her jump and cry out. Not anymore. I saw you. I know. How long? 6 months. Since you started this fucking charade? Did you ever go to that community center? Or was it always him? Always the Atelier? Always him? She crumpled, sliding down the wall to the floor, sobbing uncontrollably. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, Eugen. It happened. It wasn't planned. He understood me, he saw me, saw you. I loomed over her, shaking with the effort not to reach out and shake her, to make her feel a fraction of the pain tearing me apart. I loved you. I built a life with you. I supported your fucking art. And you throw it all away for some artist who sees you. While I was working late to pay for this apartment, for us, you were playing muse for him, letting him master your form. The vulgarity, the explicit implication, hung in the air. Her sobs hitched. She looked up at me, her face ravaged, mascara streaking down her cheeks. It wasn't physical like that at first we talked connected, oh, spare me the soulmate bullshit. I spat. I saw the kiss, Vela. I saw the way you touched him. That wasn't deep conversation. That was fucking lust. You used art as your cover. You used my trust. You made our home, my support, the backdrop for your fucking affair. My voice cracked. The rage was suddenly giving way to a tidal wave of crushing, suffocating grief. The image of her laughing face turned up to his, the tenderness in her touch, it replayed in my mind on a loop, each repetition a fresh agony. You posed for him. Well, I thought you were drawing bowls of fruit. Did he draw you? Did he paint you? Did he touch you while he did it? Tell me, Vela. Since we're finally being honest. The demand tore out of me, desperate and agonized. She buried her face in her hands, her shoulders shaking. She didn't deny it. Her silence was the loudest confirmation. The final, devastating truth. The art classes were the stage. The posing was the act. And the affair was the brutal, ugly masterpiece they'd created together, hidden behind the respectable veneer of creative pursuit. My legs gave way. I sank to my knees on the floor opposite her, not out of pity, but because the strength to stand had evaporated, leaving only a hollowed-out shell filled with shards of broken trust and shattered love. The silence stretch, thick with the unspeakable things now laid bare between us, the depth of her betrayal, the magnitude of my blindness, and the desolate wasteland that used to be our future. The pristine studio down the hall stood as a silent, mocking monument to the lie that had unraveled everything. The art of deception, indeed, mastered.